This is MEZA Grand Duchess. This is MEZA Grand Duchess Rasmus Kunin. Unfiltered, unbothered. It's Thursday, headed into Friday. And I never give my Thursday comment on Thursday. But darling, get that man, drink from him if you can. And if he's not full, you top it off with a little milk. And then, darling, bring him to the hilt. Flowers and feathers, girl, fluffs and tufts. Slurpee for those in the buff, and I like a buff man. Packing is good, girl. Who did I see this weekend? Chris Brown. Chris Brown, I still love him. He has a new website, ladies. Jump on it. That skinny little body and those tattoos. Oh my God. I'll tell you something. I'm not too fond of the military. But darling, the Marines are the hottest guys. There is nothing like them, darling. Oh, I don't know if they're packing or not, but oh my God, when you talk about body for the few, proud, and the brave, the few, proud, and the brave, it really doesn't matter, darling, but it is what it is, and I love all people and appreciate all people within limits of their tolerance, that is. Today, as I tell the toils, this is a comment on a lot of things that we must protect, freedoms that we must ensure and endure. Today, there are mistakes admitted. There are people that are silent in their toils, and their things destroyed. There are things destroyed. There are things not so evident when we look at them. It looks like a frightful mess. It looks uncluttered. It looks cluttered and unorganized, but we can't begin to see the dimension and the simplicity that lies in it. Darling, I spoke to someone today, and in that conversation of the lines are not so this, it's not so drawn. People don't readily see things that others create because of culture, class, whatever it is, and perception. But sometimes whatever the artist, and you are the artist, create, it reverberates. It is received, and sometimes it's not received in the best ways because they're unable, the inability to understand. But instead of jumping to conclusions sometime, let's take some time to understand. Let's take some time to understand where the other person is coming, their situation, their background. Can't we, when will we start to see things as it is and not what we want it to be? This is the brink always of discrimination, of being uncomfortable around other kinds of people. I know that I suffer. I have suffered at the brunt of it. So I want to read. I wrote "Tell the Toils" today, and here we go. The tell of toils, the tokens of time, trapped and tipped since the twinkle in the twinkle of a tear. Time adhere and toils. Time adhere and toils until the tankerous and truck away the tempered tail to titillate. The tell of toils that tool the train, the taker, take a break, and tape tails to tomorrow trails to tokens of time. Considerations of perception, their interpretation, though objective in their subjectivity, lies in the mindset of the openness of the environment to absorb its tale and toils. What perils the eyes, what peril the eyes, most of those never drew. The lines is their misconception of who they are and those that bring a thought to spring, bracket, and the culture which they represent in the complexities of the trainer. Knowledge becomes less open, less inclusive, judgment of the unseen organization in the simplicity of its interpretation. Mindless interrogation becomes apparent. They were incorrect tales of toils, tiled judgment, time taken to distinguish difference. This is a little bit, this is very complex. It's a complex thing. Was never meant to be, was never meant to be simple. This little piece of poetry. I use toils as people that work really hard. I use the trainer as the people that observe and judge us, and how we temper, and how we titillate, and how we strive, and how they judge, judgmentalize, sectionalize, and jail and imprison our thoughts, ideas, because they cannot understand the simplicity of the idea, or its perception is not what they want it to be. In any culture or fusion of any culture or any group of people, that is nothing new to us. But if we assume total domination and total authoritativeness or total knowledge, supreme leadership, we know God is supreme, or supreme knowledge, then we miss the things that we should catch in its beginning, in its advent, and in its change. So I'm going to read it again. It's the first time I wrote it today, and it's the first time, and it may need a little bit of tweaking, but here goes. Tell of toils, the tokens of time, trapped and tipped since the twinkle of a tear. Time ADHERE and toils, tilt the tankerous, and truck away the tempered tail to titillate. Tell of toils that tool the trainer, the taker, take a break, and tape tales of tomorrows, trails to the token of time. Considerations of perceptions, their interpretation, though objective in their subjectivity, lies in the mindset of the openness of the environment to absorb its tales and toils. What perils the eyes most of those that never, what perils the eyes of the trainer, most of those that never drew the lines, is their misconception of who they are and the culture which they represent in the complexities of the trainer. Knowledge becomes less open, less inclusive, and more judgment of the unseen organization in the simplicity of its interpretation, and mindless interrogation becomes apparent. They were incorrect. Tales of toils, tiles of judgment, time taken to distinguish difference. This is MEZA Grand Duchess Rasmus Conan, aka Ryan Thompson. Let me give you the visual. This was not meant to be a simple poem. Here we go. First page, me. Second page, I have a jail. And I enlighten it to the Reformation we're going through, the religious struggle in the Middle East. And what we really supposed to represent is these freedoms that we promise to protect our citizenry with, and below it, a gentleman not looking like us. And I bet some people look at him as a perceived terrorist, but this was an American citizen that was killed by a drone by the US government. How unfortunate for his family. And then here we have the knowledgeable, the wise, and their misconception and their perception. I plead the fifth, and they are protected, while some end up where in prison for lesser deeds. And what is it? The hieroglyphics of time, so simple in its simple and simplified in its life, from which we learn, from now we observe lesser than ourselves. This is MEZA Grand Duchess Rasmus Conan. Have a